Ranking every character in the Chunin exams. Every character. As you know, I made a tier list where I ranked every character already, but that's more subjective. This will be the more objective version. Obviously there will be bias, it's kind of impossible not to, but for the most part this is based off how good their character actually is, not how much I like them. This is context based just like the tier list, so I'm only ranking based off what we see by the end of the arc. If you enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to support me even more, you can become a member on Patreon. Anyways, let's just get right into it. You're gonna notice a lot of side characters at the start, which is natural. And since Raito only gets hit with a kunai in this arc, and nothing more, he's gonna end up in last. The Rain Ninja aren't technically characters, they're just obstacles for our protagonists during the Forest of Death. They show up in filler where they're more interesting, but during the Chunin exams, they're bots, which is why they're 56th. These two are S-tier characters, but they're not really characters. Sure, them being nice to Naruto is heartwarming, but what else are they? You can't say one thing about these two at this point that isn't ramen or Naruto related, so they're 55th. They're beloved characters, but they're technically not good ones. He likes math, and is Konohamaru's groupie. I don't think I need to say why Udon is 54th. She has colored pencils, and is Konohamaru's groupie. I don't think I need to say why Moegi is 53rd. I'm gonna be ranking Thing 1 and Thing 2 together since it just makes sense. They're only commentators for the third exam and an early obstacle for the Chunin exams. They're not impactful in any way, and both of these roles could have been filled by literally anyone. Just like a lot of the side characters in this arc, they're technically not even characters at this point, which is why they have such a low ranking. You can call this one bias. Maybe Goggles should be below Kotetsu and Izumo. Maybe Goggles isn't better than Udon and Moegi. But Goggles does seem important to some degree, and he has at least somewhat interesting character design. Not only that, but we do see a mini fight thing for him, so there's that. Mizumi is the guy who can dislocate his entire body. I need to refresh you because he's just that forgettable. Mizumi is essentially the pawn piece that shows off Kankuro's jutsu and gives him an introduction from a fighting standpoint. His jutsu is somewhat interesting, but I can see why it was given to a throwaway character. So yeah, Mizumi 49. I imagine we'll see Yoroi shortly. Yugao has 2 distinct scenes, and just by those scenes alone, she's better than 10 other characters. Those scenes are pretty emotional, and somehow stand out in the finale of Konoha Crush. So for that, she's in 48. Unfortunately, I don't know how many more times she'll show up in a list like this. Just like his twin, Yoroi is a pawn piece to show that Sasuke can overcome the curse mark. The only reason he's a couple places higher is because he seems to have a little more nuance, and he also has a more interesting yet less creative jutsu. I'm gonna rank these 3 together, since they all play the same role. As I said in the tier list, they show us what Ino, Choji, and Shikamaru can become. And for that, I think they deserve the middle 40s. If they were shown for more than 2 minutes, then I would see an argument for lower 40s, but that's just not the case. Still, it's a pretty good spot for characters we barely see. Genma is the replacement for Hayate, and since he shows up in the back half, I'd argue this is a good spot for him considering the circumstances. The only actual notable things he does is that line at the end of Naruto vs Neji, as well as telling Sasuke to chase after Gaara. And then on top of that, he does fight Baki, but it is off screen. And for a replacement, that's pretty solid. But since he's a replacement, he can't go any higher than 43rd. We went from Genma to Enma, which wasn't planned. Enma can turn into a magic wand, and is a monkey. That's cool. And since he's just a summoning and a fighting piece for this arc, I can't give him any higher than 42, even if I wanted to. Tobirama is the less interesting Senju we see, so he's the lower ranking. He shows us Kage level like Hashirama, so there's that. But that's about all. He plays the part, and nothing more. Hashirama at 40 would be a crime if this wasn't context-based. Hashirama displays wood style, which is cool no matter how you want to put it. But just like Tobirama, he plays the part and nothing more. Not only that, but this does kind of make him seem weak, even if he's not at full power. But still, his spot remains the same. He's 40th overall. Shukaku isn't really even a character. It's just a feeling. It's something looming in the background that plays a role in Gaara's trauma. So for that, it gets a low ranking, but also one that acknowledges what it's done for the overall story. Kurama is the same. Technically not even a character. They're just a symbol of adversity for Naruto that he has to overcome. So for that, it wouldn't make sense if Kurama was ranked high, and I'm pretty sure everyone can come to that understanding. Baki. That's the guy's name, by the way. Baki's only at 37 because he caps Hayate, and because he acts as somewhat of a leader for the Sand siblings. That's about it. You can call this bias, but what does Konohamaru actually do in this arc? You should be surprised I ranked him this high considering what we know about his character up to this point. So for that, it might actually be my least biased pick. I gave the shitter grandkid 36th? Shit, even I'm surprised. Yashimaru only got 35 because of impact, as they're a cornerstone in Gaara's backstory. Without this impact, they're not even really a character, which is why they're 35 and not higher. You might see Gamakichi as a surprisingly high entry, but hear me out. Not only is he a frog that has some decent characterization, being kind of a goober, they're also the main reason Gamabunta fights Shukaku, which influences the climax of Naruto vs. Gaara. It's underrated, and barely talked about, so I'm hoping this entry sparks a little bit of a goofy conversation about the early stage of Gamakichi as a character, even if that conversation is brief. Before you get double mad from the back-to-back goofy summonings, just hear it out. Pakun directly influenced Naruto vs. Gaara by advising to go around Shino vs. Kankuro, and that's something that needs to be recognized. He's actually the most important member of that assembled squad, because he's the reason they're able to track Sasuke in the first place. And someone who has influence on the climax is someone who deserves a higher entry, but since he's only influential near the end, he gets 33rd. Ebizu's at 32 because he's a returning character, so we have a little more to base off of. Not only that, but he does seem like an actual character in the world, not just a summoning that occasionally spawns in, so his entry is naturally a little higher. He also introduces training Naruto's chakra control before Jiraiya takes over and expands on it, so 32 is a good spot to have him at. Keen is the least interesting out of the three Sound Ninja, which is why she's 31st overall. Out of all the antagonists, besides a big sand monster we see for 5 minutes, she's by far the least interesting. But she's still an antagonist nonetheless, and contributes to Sakura's character growth the most out of all of them. So 31st is the spot for her. I have a feeling that if she was shown more, she'd be a little higher. 10-10, then add another 10. For a member of the Konoha 12, you'd imagine 10-10 to actually do something, but she plays a very minor role in the Chunin exams. She serves as the intro to Tamari and the Glaze of Neji. That's it. Which for a member of Konoha 12, that makes her really weak. But for all the characters in the Chunin exams, that makes her the 30th best character. Out of all the Jonin and proctors, Kurenai gets by far the least characterization, besides Genma, which is why she hits number 29 on the list. The worst part about this is I don't even think she does anything in this arc. This ranking is purely because she's a Jonin, and nothing more. After the least important Jonin, we have the second least important proctor, Hayate. Although Hayate's Moon Crescent dance is unique up to this point, it doesn't mean he's all that interesting. He coughs a bunch and gets killed to confirm an attack on the leaf is inescapable. That's about it. That garners 28th. Some characterization, but not enough to be ranked high. At this point, I should say that none of these characters are particularly horrible. They might be bad or underwhelming, but they're not trash. Zaku is the perfect example. He's the second worst official Sound Ninja, which in reality puts him in the middle, but second worst might be a better way to put it. He has interesting jutsu and does play a part in showing how Orochimaru uses people, but that's about it. And for someone who's a noticeable part in a big antagonist group, that's not enough. 27's good for him. We won't ever see him again. If you were to switch Kiba and Zaku's jutsus around, you'd pretty much still have Kiba and Zaku the exact same characters. If that made any sense, like the video, and if it didn't, still like it anyways. For someone who fought Naruto in the Chunin exams, you'd expect Zaku to have a little bit more about him. Granted, he did pose a big threat to Naruto at the time, and he did have some cool jutsu, but once Naruto beat Neji, that fight pretty much lost almost all value to it. The silver lining is, I think this arc leaves Kiba on a good note, one where he needs to improve, but also one where that improvement can be easily accomplished. We'll see if that's taken in the Sasuke retrieval arc, but I'm not gonna outright mention if it is here. This one might seem out of place, but rest assured, you'll be much more angry with the end of this list. Ino gets two big moments: her saving Sakura, and her fight against Sakura. These two moments give her enough characterization and potential to land her a spot at 25. They're emotional, and strong to the point where Sakura and Ino haters have to point towards the surface level of their fight to call it trash, not what's lying underneath. I want you guys to know something. Every character I've mentioned up to this point is worse than a frog. I'ma leave you a couple seconds to truly process that. In reality, Gamabunta is actually a good character. My Chunin exam's character tier list version of him was already pretty unbiased, so I'll just restate what I said there. He seems like a bad guy at first, but is shown to have good intentions. And for a summoning, not only does he play a huge role in the climax of Naruto vs. Gaara, but he's also a huge piece in Naruto's training. So for that, he gets 24th, a fitting place for the introduction of Chief Toad. Anko is the second most interesting proctor, and probably the most important in this arc. She has the curse mark, which is the main reason we initially know it's a problem, which is useful considering that if we didn't have that initial impression, we would be at least sort of confused onto why the curse mark is a bad thing. Considering the first time Sasuke used it, he seemed to be at his strongest. Anko also has good characterization and unique traits, so she's at 23, a solid spot for a proctor. 22 is better than 23, and the first most interesting proctor is better than the second, so at 22, we have Ibiki. Ibiki sets a perfect tone for the exams. He's one of the only reasons why that first exam is watchable, and he embodies what a Chunin is. Like I said, he's the perfect tone setter and plays his role perfectly. And also, like I said, 22nd overall. Asuma's initial intro was kinda weak, but it gets turned up once we see him fight. That final fight and some of his commentary is really what gives him this placing. His character leaves the Chunin exams properly set up, he's someone shown as strong, and his relationship with his squad is solidified. That's all you need. In the short time Asuma's on screen, he's likable, inoffensive, and a badass. That's what gives him 21st. Speaking of inoffensive characters, Choji's next. Choji might actually be the perfect successor to Asuma. He's also inoffensive, he's likable, but he's not quite a badass. The only reason he's higher than Asuma with technically less going for him is because he gets more fleshed out during the Forest of Death and the prelims. He's a big back, yes, but he's also someone who stands up for himself, even if it is seen as a joke. And he's all around just a pure character that no one can hate. So you can call it bias that he's at 20, I'll call it by design. Iruka heavily benefits off the first episode, and without it, I don't even think he'd be in the top 30. He's likable, fleshed out, and is also someone who embodies the Will of Fire very well. That Will of Fire flashback we see with Iruka and Hiruzen actually gives us insight onto why he wanted to become a teacher, and that's more nuanced than a sizable amount of the Konoha 12. So for that, 19 seems like a good point for him. However, I'm afraid Iruka will never see this kind of ranking again. Kankuro is the first Sand sibling in this list, but he's still definitely good. If you like his vibe, he can become a standout, and if you think he's just okay, you can still appreciate his fight with Shino. He's our introduction to Puppet Masters, and a pretty good one at that, and his fight with Shino is solid. I think 18 is a pretty good spot for him. Hey guy, you might have been 15th in an earlier draft to this list, but you ended up in 17. Maybe in the future you might get better. Maybe in the future I'll stop making this terrible joke. Only time will tell. Guy might just be the second best Jonin, while also feeling somewhat underrated. His moments with Lee hit hard, and he seems to just be a good vibe. That's good enough for 17th overall. I didn't forget Shino, and I won't forget him in the Sasuke recovery mission. Don't worry. Although Shino only gets 2 real moments, he's characterized well and makes a strong impression. But since he only gets 2 real moments, it's hard to put him in a higher spot, especially when one of those 2 moments is carried by an outside conflict. So I think 16 works for our undefeated bug guy. He'll be higher in Sasuke recovery mission, so that's a good thing. Tamari was 17th in an earlier draft to this list, till I realized Guy was in 15 and I said, that doesn't make any sense. Temari is the second best Sand sibling, and in my opinion is a big reason to why her fight with Shikamaru is held in high regard. Shikamaru is my favorite character in Naruto, but even I can admit that if it wasn't Temari that he was fighting, that fight would have been a lot worse. She was also interesting enough to the story for her fight with Tenten to be shown in length, when the manga just simply doesn't have it, and her little fight with Sasuke is good for what it is. So, Temari ends up in 15th, which in reality should tell you how many amazing characters there are in this arc. For a character as impactful as Hiruzen, 14th might seem weird, but a lot of his impact is felt in later arcs, which I can't base a ranking off of, which really sucks. And I can't just bend the rules for one character specifically, so he has to be ranked lower. I'll let you know something though, if we were bending the rules for Hiruzen, he would be in top 5. But since we're not, he's in 14th. The good parts of his fight with Orochimaru and his final moments are the main thing dictating this pick. Unfortunately, I only see him being ranked again during the war arc, so stick around like a million years for that. I'll let you say bias on this one, but I truly do believe that Dosu is objectively the 13th best character in this arc. He's literally like a utility character. He's Ben Zobrist-like. He's fucking Tyler Wade. He introduces us to the idea that Orochimaru uses others, all while showing us Gar's crazy side. That's two extremely important things in the Chunin exams and it needs to be appreciated more. 13th. You can call bias, I'll say no. Jiraiya's introduction could be better. I don't think I'm the first person to say that. But we get enough of his serious side to know that he's more than just a horny goober. Not only that, but he's extremely influential in Naruto's physical growth in this arc. So for that, he's in 12, and he's only getting better from here. Kabuto might just be the most underrated character in this arc. And that's saying something considering how many underrated characters there are. He's quintessential to Naruto getting past the forest of death. He threatens Sasuke's life when he's in the hospital, and him being revealed as a spy is great. I think 11 is a great place for him, although it might come off as surprising. Hinata's quick character arc did not go on deaf ears, which is why she's in the 10 spot for this arc. Her fight with Neji is really powerful, mainly because of her, and her hyping up Naruto for his fight with Neji is also good. 10 spot it is. You might be surprised I put my bias away, but yeah, objectively I think Shikamaru is the 9th best character in the Chunin exams. His fight with Temari is great, his role in the Konoha Crush is also great, he even made a fight with Keen probably the most interesting it could ever be, and he has a good vibe. Minus the misogyny. Next time we have a list like this, he will be higher, but for now, he's in the 9 spot. This will be the most hated entry on this list, besides the 4th. But just hear me out, cause I swear this makes sense. Sakura's arc is mental and about having the determination to be great. It's highlighted on 3 separate instances, and is ramped up each and every time. And that's more than what everyone already mentioned has had. That's why she's in 8th. And you don't have to like her growth, but you need to acknowledge it. So yeah, Sakura's in 8. Fucking comments are gonna be a war zone. A lot of Kakashi's characterization comes from the previous Land of Waves arc, but he still gets some great moments in the Chunin exams. From defending Sasuke from Orochimaru, if you want to call it that, and that KIA stone scene. Those all get Kakashi at the 7 spot, and at this point he's become a really compelling character. We'll see where he ends up in the future. For a pure villain, Orochimaru might just be the best you can get. He's just a bad guy, and anything bad you can think of, he's gonna do. And since we've only seen antagonists in Naruto and not really a true villain, this is really good. Not only that, but Orochimaru is really powerful and extremely impactful to the Chunin exams. I don't think this 6th spot should be all that surprising. Hyuga Clan, Macho Man, Maru-chan, Neji in 5. Neji is not only a really strong and really cool character, he also might have just been the perfect person to challenge Naruto's views. Him and Naruto have the exact opposite viewpoint, but he ends up getting character growth as a result to their fight. He's also just an all-around amazing ninja who you can tell is going to be compelling going forward. 5 is a really strong spot for Neji. Let's just hope it's not Timberwolves in 5 in the upcoming future. Lee at 4 is not saying Lee is the 4th best character, it's saying that there's somehow 3 other characters better than him. Lee is an extremely relatable character to anyone that hasn't naturally succeeded at everything, so he's relatable to everyone. And he's also inspirational as he rises above his situation. Not only that, but he gives you one of the best fights in Naruto simply through a preliminary match, all while leaving a huge impact on the viewer, as well as on other characters. He's a side character, by the way, and he instantly becomes one of the most beloved characters in the entire show. Gaara's character is the driving force in one half of Konoha Crush, and is overall just amazing. This is where a little bit of subjectivity comes into place, cause I really like Gaara's flashbacks. So in turn, his character hits a little harder for me, which makes me possibly hold him in higher regard than what the average viewer might. Guy. In reality, I think Lee and Gaara's spots are pretty interchangeable, but since I find Gaara to be more impactful and overall a better written character by the end of the arc, I put him in 3. I completely understand Lee being in 3, but this is where the hardest decision was, so for full transparency, I will admit to being somewhat biased on what I think is better written. And yeah, I expect a little bit of controversy with this pick, but I'm standing on business. You didn't think Naruto would be number 2, did you? If Gaara and Lee are 3 and 4, Sasuke's number 2. He improves a lot in this arc, which is good, but it's all physical, with a lot of his mental realizations kind of being things he already knew. He gets the curse mark, cool. He's able to be at Lee's speed for a short duration, cooler. And he gets Chidori, elegant. And him being a main character means the light is on him more. So when he's gone, we instantly get the question of, where's he at? This makes his aura farming ass entrance for the 3rd exam extra amazing, since we did have a noticeable leave of absence. And just so this video isn't a movie's length, I'm gonna shut up. Sasuke is in the 2 spot. It seems like the only good place for him. Is it all that surprising that the main character is objectively the best character? It shouldn't be unless this anime was... never mind. Naruto is written perfectly in this arc, cause not only does he get a physical arc, he gets a mental one too. He gets more chakra control and can summon a frog. Amazing. Then, he sees Kurama for the first time, which leads to a lot more self-acceptance. All while his personal beliefs get challenged in the back half of the arc, with him having to fight as a way to prove and uphold them. And like I said, he's our main character, so this is being shown to us for pretty much the entire duration of the arc. And its execution is, like I said, perfect. He pushes a lot of really good messages in this arc too, all while feeling extremely relatable. Like, it shouldn't even be a surprise. He's an amazing character, and I don't think anyone's gonna deny that. So, like, of course he's number 1. It's not even, like, crazy to say that. Okay, so that's the list. It's perfect. There's no flaws. Being fully transparent here, this video is hard to make, but also, like, really fun. So if you have any problems with it, let me know, cause I'm sure we disagree at least once. And if you want to see me do more character rankings in the future, like maybe on different shows or whatever, just let me know. If you want to support me even more than just watching this video, you can become a member on Patreon. Anyways, yeah, I don't know how to end videos, so it's just gonna end.